Thank you to our wonderful sponsors for the booze, for the pizzas. Do we all like them? Yeah? Yeah. Come on. A hand for our sponsors. It takes something to put your your hand in your pocket these days to get a bit of money out of the sponsors. And no, we're very, very grateful. I'd like you just to have a look at the screen there and see who we are. First and foremostly, SpaceCube. This is where we held our monthly Australian DeFi event. So thank you to them. We have a range of others, HBAR Suite, HeLa, Sike, Digital Village, Crypto Lulu, CoinStash. Is that CB Web? Cobweb, Cobweb Pay, Cloud Tech Group, not centralised. Well, our founder will tell you all about that, probably. Stone and Chalk, CoinStash, and I think that's it. Oh, and also Bamboo. Yeah, wonderful. It's going to be a very exciting night. We have apologies from Tracy, so if you're used to seeing her, she won't be with us, but she sends her love. She hopes that we all have a fabulous time, and I'm sure we will. We've got a real special event for you all tonight. And look, I'd really like us to put our hands together because Mark Monfort has flown all the way over from Sydney to be with us tonight. He's the founder of Australian DeFi Association, which is a national organisation, and we are very grateful to have the organisation here in Perth. So, how many of you are new? Because I do see a few new faces. A little bit of a hand show, please. Awesome. I'm going to encourage you, if you can, it's obviously voluntary, to take a scan of that because you're going to get access to...
It's mandatory, actually.
So. Okay, the man says it's mandatory. But you know how things are in this space, we choose for ourselves. Awesome. So, yes, you'll be able to keep in touch with all of the latest news and events through that website. Awesome. Kicking right along. Well, I hope you've taken time to do some networking. That's what part of the objectives of coming to a community group is all about, right? So have you all met at least one or two other people you didn't know, or maybe you did, hugged the people that you do, had a little bit to drink and conversation. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask Mark if he can come up and give us an overview of what's been happening in the world of the Aus DeFi Association meetups all over the country. I think you'll be quite impressed. Mark.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry for the trip hazards and stuff here. Well, did I just turn that off? Check. No, we're good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming and joining along. There's a few seats up front here, if you'd like. There's a few more at the back. Just feel free to kind of move some of those chairs if you want to sit down. First of all, for all the new people, nice to meet you all. And for everyone else that has been coming to these events, but I've not been here, I just want to say thank you to Sophie and Tracy, who's not here. This is being recorded. We don't always get to record these. So, it's really nice to be able to do that. You'll see the replay when we get it out on our YouTube channel. So for those QR codes that you scanned before, you get the meetups, you get the YouTube, the website, which needs an upgrade, and a whole heap of other things. We've always been a community that is about education and helping people connect with others, and that does not stop. So there's a lot going on in this space, so I'll give you the quick rundown before we get to some amazing presentations from Alpha Node Global and HeLa Lab. All right, so the latest event that we did was 2 weeks ago in Sydney with OKX. So that's the venue that I call home in Sydney, and if you are ever over there, Stone and Chalk have done really amazing stuff. They're a startup hub just like SpaceCube. They've really helped us out over there, so really great stuff. Sydney's got South by Southwest on, and there's quite a few people coming over from the blockchain space. Stone and Chalk are doing some stuff. I'll be doing some talks with a few others. I can't remember what the talk is on, but I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out and stuff. But yeah, it's all about, I think it's on tokenization and just not self-custody, but just like bringing back that ownership that was, ripped away from us with Web 2. So we'll talk more about that. All of these are online, so if you want to watch the replay, you can. So we had OKX, we had Jabrin, who's a lawyer, have a little bit of a rant, which was great because he's been really helping out a lot of startups in the space and seeing the frustrations that they get. And we also had an event before with some international guests. So in August, we had Audrey Tang and Glenn Vale. Glenn has done a lot of stuff with Audrey in various pieces of work. Glenn works for Microsoft in research, but Audrey is a former digital minister for Taiwan and the first non-binary minister for the Taiwanese government. So really amazing stuff that she's gone through. And we had some great talks. Some ministers came along to watch that one because there's a lot of interest with government. These guys were here to actually go speak with not just New South Wales, but also federal government about how do you have more collaborative government run with technology and what they're doing there in Hong Kong. There's a lot that Australia can learn. So that's a really good one to watch as well. And then we had a podcast that was out prior to that. So with my co-founder Arturo there interviewing the folks. So check out the YouTube for that. Also recently there was the AFR Crypto Summit. Hands up who's heard of or who had seen that was on? So the Financial Review had the Crypto Summit. There's a few of you. If you didn't know, so Australian Financial Review, traditional finance mainly, but one of the biggest papers, or if not the biggest. It's like our equivalent of the Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, for example, in the US. So Australian Financial Review have every year a crypto summit, and they had one this year, and it was really interesting because you can see on the left there, that was the first headline. So ASIC decided to put out the day of the crypto summit when you've got the blockchain industry coming together mostly, that the headline, as you can read there, crypto startups should be licensed according to ASIC. So that was a great start. ASIC spoke at the event, the chairman of ASIC, Alan, I forget his last name. I think it was changed from the previous guy, Joe Longo, or maybe Joe's still there. But Alan was the representative. He spoke about the need for regulation, why they're going after some of these companies to test the regulations and whatnot. And what was interesting was that a lot of people had questions. There were other presentations on tokenization and real world assets and all these other things. But this headline came out the day after because and there's Drew Bradford there, former NAB, and he's now at Cloud Tech as their chairman. But this is the headline that ASIC set off the crypto fire alarm. Canberra will have to respond. And that wasn't just figuratively, it was literally. So if you'll allow me, this is... So imagine that ASIC just spoke, and then you have Fred from Finder on stage here.
Let's go and sue the right brothers. I tell you what, let's go and sue Burke and Wills as well. Those guys, because they found some real estate, that's probably a security.
If you don't know who Burke and Wills are
Definitely
very well-known Australian explorers.
The horse industry is definitely not got a license for him.
But this literally happened. You couldn't script it to be better than that. Where you have, the actual fire figuratively going off and having a literal one. Whether or not someone from ASIC pulled the alarm, we don't know. We can neither confirm nor deny, but it was still a very important message that we're trying to come together. Finder and Block Earner were sued by ASIC last year for their Earn product, as you may have seen or maybe just learning now. And some of these companies, they basically had tried to actually get the right kind of licenses or at least engage. And there's some people in the room that I've had conversations with, and it's the same kind of thing that we're going through as well, where we're trying to get the right kind of licenses, but some things are just not working out as well. Like it's almost like you want to play by the rules, but you're getting told that you can't actually get the things that you need to be able to do that. You're not allowed to buy into that space. So it's interesting. What it does mean is that we all have to come together and be aware of this because there's different things that we can all do as a community. More news will be coming out about what we can do collectively to really drive innovation. So one of the key messages, and I've got the key takeaways there, you guys can read that, but for me, one thing that really stands out is that you have these people from the outside that are from the traditional kind of space that don't want necessarily this space to succeed. And yet we see all the innovation, we see the infinite possibilities, and the only way really forward is we have to showcase the good things that this space is doing. So it's great that we have the hype and all that. You know, people are really interested in like the price value going up, but we've got to show some substance behind a lot of this stuff. And I know that we can do that because there's been projects where people have come together, different companies have come together to really prove the power of blockchain. So apart from that, regulatory clarity was like a key takeaway. People were talking about investment strategies as well, so there was a panel on that. You could have watched online. I know Ronan was watching online for this stuff, and you saw the fire alarms go off. But you know, they spoke about tech advancements and stuff in the space as well. And there was a session on the political landscape because crypto is definitely, whether we like it or not, a US political topic with the election now less than 60 days, 90 days away, very soon. 30 days away? Shows the last time I was looking. It's working in blockchain and AI, the days just blur. Anyway, Token 2049. Who here went to Token 2049? Congratulations, the FOMO is real. Well done, well done. Yes, that deserves a clap. So you would have been amazed at all the crazy events. I went last year, and from what I'd heard, it was bigger this year. So the introvert in me is not really feeling like I missed out, which is great. But you can see some of the Aussie crew here on the left-hand side. Oh, Blake's there. There you go. Right there, from Bamboo. Yep. So really amazing stuff that we saw online, and no doubt CoinDesk will put out on YouTube some more of the sessions and stuff. When I was there, it wasn't even about watching any of the sessions. It was about networking and all the side events and just surviving. Right, Blake? Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Play survival, folks. The last event in Perth. So hands up if you can see your face there. Anyone? A few of you. Okay, very good. Thanks for coming back. So yeah, look, we're trying to do this monthly in Perth, and it wouldn't happen without all of you showing up and without all the people that are behind this and without the support. I know that it's this monthly thing. Funnily enough, Aus DeFi did not start out to want to be a meetup group. We actually were going to meetups in Sydney, and all we wanted to do was just to be a digital home on Discord to have discussions in between other meetups. It just turned out that people liked the discussion and said, you guys should do meetups. And here we are. But we're going to try to bring back that digital connection because I don't want people to have to wait another 30 days. Just for I'm not saying that we're going to jump back on Discord because it's kind of dead, but like hands up here who is on Discord and still uses Discord. Okay. Well, go to the Aus DeFi Discords and the QR code links there. I'll start talking back on there again. It did go down in the bear market, but we will definitely be coming back. But whatever we choose to do, I just know that we definitely want to be communicating and educating and helping connect people much more than just waiting for the monthly events. This is something that I do weekly, which is an AI. It's mostly AI right now, but I'm going to try to get some blockchain stuff into it. Chris, who's on my left there, on the left there, it's my right. He is the one that films our events over in... Sorry, Chris, I was trying to get your name out there. He's watching on screen here. He's the one that films our events in Sydney and why it looks good there because he knows what he's doing, whereas I had to chat GPT how to do some of this stuff. But yeah, he and I do this podcast on AI and how it helps with anything that you're doing in terms of startups. I'll talk more about that later, but that's something that we're doing each week. So just a quick and easy plug there, but we'll get to the presentations. I'll come back at the end before we get to more networking, but right now we're going to hear some really interesting talks. First up from Ben at AlphaNode Global. Ben.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for having me. I was actually sponsoring this evening because I wanted to bring the next session to you, and then we had a speaker pull out. So I thought I was just going to summarise Token 2049 because I had a fantastic time there, and there were some really good takeaways that I think should be shared with the community. But instead, I'm just adding a little bit on, just a little bit about ourselves, what we do, and I've gone a little bit high level on some things just to give you an idea of, everybody talks about investment funds, which is what we do. We're also a trustee service as well, and so I've just sort of included a little bit of detail about what that structure looks like if you ever hear about it in the future. Of course, we're a financial organisation, so we have to have the disclaimers up. AlphaNode, we're all about creating bridges. at the moment. We're focused on cryptocurrencies. It's a central product of ours. And we're focused on building that bridge in traditional world across to allow investors to invest into digital assets. We also do staking as well. We're a risk management business. And what I mean by that is we see risk in our business in everything we do in financial services, and we look to outsource or mitigate those risks in any way we can. So where we can see groups that are doing it better, we will always use them and we'll always work in with them, which we do with the staking. A big shout out to the Peer 2 boys over in Brisbane. They do a fantastic job supporting us on that front. And then, from a custody perspective as well, which is something we do, we leverage off different custodial providers. So just broadly from a fund structure, what a fund structure is when you hear about a licensed fund, we hold an AFSL. And Mark mentioned before, and I'll be going into a little bit more detail as well, Australian Financial Service Licence, which is issued by ASIC. And what that allows us to do is operate in a wholesale space, which means high net worth individuals, and we can act as trustee or oversee the operations of a fund that's investing on behalf of investors. Okay, so the fund structure itself is a standard trust structure. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with that, but a unit trust is kind of like applying the shareholding that a company normally has into the trust environment. And so as trustee, which is the role that we sit at more often than not, we oversee and make sure the investors' interests are looked after. Okay. Now, a typical fund outsources the investment operations to an investment manager, and that investment manager makes the investment decisions in accordance with the fund documents, so the way that the investors think their money is being invested. And then it's also accounted for and administered. We can see an administrator off there, which is a fancy word for a bookkeeper in the fund space, but they look after the unitisation, so who owns which units, making sure all the documentation of a fund is completed. And then other services I've mentioned there, custodian, so who or where are the assets sitting. Very, very different in cryptocurrencies as well, because in the traditional space, there's always a register of who holds what shares or what real estate, whereas for cryptocurrencies, these are these transient assets that can move between people or organisations very easily, very seamlessly. And so we've got to have a whole heap of different rules and regulations around how we manage that, and obviously accountants, auditors, etc. So we primarily run two funds at the moment. We run the digital fund, which was established nearly 7 years ago, which is a long-only fund, which means we invest in cryptocurrency positions with a long-term view. We don't add leverage to that fund. We don't think that we think there's enough leverage in the crypto sector without having to add extra leverage. We don't short sell. We don't try and predict the market. Effectively, if you invest in this fund, you're thinking of cryptocurrency in a long term, and we build a portfolio to try and achieve that. The fund's doing quite well. Like I said, it's been going for 7 years. Last 12 months, I think we've done about 95% return, which is consistent with market performance. The other side of the equation is Alpha Prime Trust. Now, Alpha Prime Trust is a little bit different. It's a multi-strat account, and it's primarily doing something at the moment we call market neutral trading. And that is buying a spot asset, so let's call it Bitcoin, and selling the futures short. And what it means is no matter where the market moves, up or down, you don't make money on that position, so you're not exposed to the market. But what you get is, with this basis trading, is you get a payout from the exchanges for creating the markets. And that's the return that we deliver to the clients. Different risks in different funds. One's exposed long. With the digital fund, you can keep assets off exchange, so that reduces risks there. Whereas Alpha Prime, you need to have assets on exchange, so you've got counterparty risks and so forth as well. We add leverage to that because we know it's neutral, so it doesn't matter if we're 20x, because it's 20x the position and it's still a neutral position, doesn't matter which way the market moves. There's occasionally some disconnects in the market that we can make the most of and we can benefit and profit from. With that fund as well, we have 3 trading teams with our core team sitting in Singapore, and we spread the assets across multi-venues as well because we want to minimise those risks. So that's broadly what we do. What's on our radar? Really firmly on our radar is what Mark talked about or touched on previously, which was the concept that this digital asset facility licence is coming. ASIC want to be able to license this space, and they're trying to work out how to do it. And what they decided to do was to place the financial product as being if you hold cryptocurrency or not. So if we take a step back, it's not necessarily looking at each crypto and determining if it's a security or not. It's actually looking at, are you holding assets on behalf of somebody else, i.e. kind of a custodial type role, and therefore you will need a license for that going forward. Now that was due to be, the legislation was due to be written by December this year. It's been pushed back a bit. Following that, there'll be sort of 6 to 12 months of discussion. Then you've got royal assent, and then there'll probably be a leadway of about 12 months following that. So broadly, we're still probably 2.5 years away, but as an organisation, and I brought my in-house lawyer here today, sitting down the back, Joe, so we make sure we've got the expertise in-house to be able to handle these sorts of issues, get on the front foot and plan towards them. And I think just accidentally turned that off, sorry. And so we're trying to get on the front foot. We've got an advantage. We run an AFSL at the moment. We understand the space. We understand the rules, the regulations. And so we're really starting to think and position forward in the market so that we can best make the most of this change. Because I believe that with any change, there's opportunity, right? And instead of thinking about it like a lot of crypto businesses are, they're really scared about this change. We're thinking at how can we make the most of this? How can we position our business to really thrive through this period? So we've actually acquired a second AFSL, which settles on Friday this week. And from that, we've got to do a variation, and then we're going to start broadening our range of financial products. And in terms of custody, we're really cautiously we're assessing the market at the moment as to which custody providers will thrive in Australia, because many that are offering services in Australia won't put up the necessary NTA, which is net tangible asset, to run the business. Now that's looking at like $5 million. So that means $5 million on your balance sheet that you'll have to have if you want to provide custody services in Australia. So it's something that we'll outsource, and we'll look to the right group. So we're cautiously looking at that. And then, the maturity of this sector is going to come in. There's not insurance at the moment. We operate in a wholesale space. Insurance is not required. Retail, you must have insurance, and it's 5 million minimum. And so that means insurers have got to understand the risk a bit more to be able to let people take out a policy with them on commercial terms and be able to operate their business. Dealer groups as well are evolving. Dealer groups have approved product lists. So these are products that they say, yeah, we like that fund, or we like that type of investment. These need to evolve as well in order to get cryptocurrency-centric products out there. And there's a whole raft of other issues, such as monitoring and education and the like, that AFSLs will need to consider going forward that don't actually exist for the sector at the moment. And so that's where we're getting organised now to try and position ourselves, hopefully, 18 months to 2 years ahead of the curve. As I said, I went to Token 2049, amazing event. I'm going to state that it's the crypto capital of APAC for sure. I think there was nearly 20,000 people went, 700 side events. It is hectic, like Blake said, it's survival mode, and you really need to do preparation to get the most out of your time there. You need to think ahead and work out, what you want to achieve and where you can best achieve that. What I was really disappointed by was crypto bros mentality still exists on too many locations. And what I mean by that is effectively stands and multiple of them that still have grid girls, so girls walking around in next to no clothing trying to promote their product. I think that the time of that is gone. To me, it's a red flag. Avoid that product. But what was really positive, there was definitely more female presence in the speaking sector. Still not 50-50. It's still a male-dominated space, but that was definitely improving in a big way. The battle of the L1s continues. Vitalik got up. It was one of the sessions I got to. I think I got to about 4 or 5. Vitalik actually sung and did a small rap, which was quite hilarious, and it's available online. I'll give you the link to it shortly. But he was trying to move the narrative away from cryptocurrency is in its infancy to cryptocurrency usage is in its infancy. So he's saying, look, we're mature products now. We've been around for, 15 years for Bitcoin and 10 years for Ethereum. Now it's about ironing out the usage bugs and making sure we can use this effectively. Multi-chain Capital made some really interesting points around Ethereum's lost its way. It's let L2s take too much of its market share. It doesn't have this strong purpose and was pushing the Solana bandwagon quite heavily about this high-performance permissionless global trading chain. But at the same time, I still look at reliability on Solana as being a massive key. And Cardano, Charles got up and spoke diligently as he always does and just talked about the fourth wave of crypto and that being governance and identity and this privacy piece that needs to improve. And I think Cardano's like a sleeping giant still that is just plodding away in the background and just slowly building and doing things in the sensible way. Stablecoin innovation was massive as well. So if you talk about the ETFs and the big groups, they're all wrestling over who has control of the stablecoin market. It's already happening in Australia. You've got probably a handful of groups trying to jostle for who gets the AUD stablecoin and wins the market here. There's probably going to be a couple. USDT or Tether and Circle are looking at Australia as well and trying to work out who they can partner with. But it was interesting, BitGo came out and said if you have our new stablecoin that's going to be released, you'll get a yield automatically on it. Because that's where their money is getting made, is on having that interest and investments out there, and they're getting great returns on hundreds of billions of dollars, and that stays with the company that's issued the coin rather than to those who are holding the coins. So I think that's evolving nicely as well. This is a QR code to YouTube, and it's got all of the presentations from Token 2049 on there. So you can see everything that went down, including Vitalik's singing. I'll let you capture that if you want. But wanted to talk next, just before we finish up, about what I thought was the best speech of the conference. And it was by a guy who's been an analyst for a number of years in the space and has been involved with different investment groups, Murad. And Murad, he's a very, very quick speaker, and he got up and he spoke specifically about why he believes this crypto bull cycle that's coming, and we've sort of started, why he thinks meme coins are going to drive the market. And it was a really interesting presentation. And look, we're a wholesale investment fund, and it's not something we typically dabble in, but it certainly piqued my interest in terms of how this narrative is going to play and could play into our portfolios and give us some good returns. What he says is, like, post-COVID, there's this real big yearn for community. There's this loneliness that exists within a lot of people, and they're looking to have fun. Instead of gambling, they're looking to be a part of communities and doing and making money together. And when they look at cryptocurrency, they think, I don't really understand the tech that's behind it. I don't understand the purpose. This is really complex. And they really don't care too much about the tech, because what they're actually attracted to is, initially, is will that idea help me make money, and can I be a part of a community that will actually, I'll enjoy and I'll be embraced by. And so he's saying, get rid of the tech. Meme coins are these opportunities where people can be a part of a community, they can make some money, they can have fun, they can feel connected, they reduce their loneliness, and as well, these coins are typically issued without much bias. So there's not a lot of coins that are held by somebody in their back pocket only to dilute later down the track, that they're given to the community freely and evenly, and everyone communicates. And so actually the last point he also said was those coins that perform well typically in the first strong. And if we look back and we go 2016, 17 markets, ICOs was the key, right? Then we had DeFi summer. Then we had NFTs. right? And so we've got these themes that always had a little spike at the start of a cycle, then push strong, usually 1 or 2 more cycles before it finished. And often it's hard for them to come back after that. They've pushed through, right? And so his thesis is, this time around, it's meme coins. This little chart I got my analyst to prepare last week, so you can see the 1st of January versus the 2nd of October prices. Got a few benchmarks up the top there. Let's use Bitcoin as a benchmark, right? 45.95% return so far this year. Now, those that are in green are those that have outperformed Bitcoin, right? What you'll see is layer ones typically haven't. Ton's had a great year, Sui's had a great year, Phantom's had a great year. Modulars, everyone's failing. Ethereum, DeFi, I thought Aave had done better than that, but it hadn't. But Pendul's done well. Sol DeFi, mid-range, they're positive. Cosmos is challenged. But then you go over to the old memes and the new memes, there is some phenomenal performances so far this year. And those are reasonable sized coins as well. They've got decent market caps now. And so this is what we've seen, like the retail markets, even though we've got this sort of wholesale, big end of town ETF narrative that's really been pushing up Bitcoin and Ethereum, the retail market doesn't understand everything else in the middle, and they're pushing towards these meme kinds, having a gamble, being a part of a community. And again, I wanted to share this slide because what it comes back to is the same thing these big companies have been built on, the premise for so many years. I mean, the Facebooks and Googles particularly of this world went for many years before they made profits. They were money burners. But what they did is they created a network effect. And they did it really well to the point where they started to work out how to monetize it. And crypto assets are no different. Crypto assets, particularly these meme coins, and you could argue Bitcoin was the first ever meme coin, all right, based on the first block and what was printed on that. But it's a reminder that they're creating these great network effects with millions of users. Where will they go next? What do they get into? How are they branding and merch? So with that, I wanted to introduce Dr. Andy Ting next, because why I wanted to move from this over, and I'll share my details if anybody wants them as well, but why I wanted to use that as a connector into Andy's talk tonight is because he's building a layer 1 blockchain with the Singapore government, and I'll let him go in a little bit more detail with that, so with their research and development arm. But one of the things he's doing as a sort of a foundation of building out his layer 1 blockchain is working out how he can get network effect early. And he's specifically doing that by looking at gaming, the gaming markets, right? And so he's got some really interesting deals. If he doesn't reveal them in his presentation, I will ask the question and I'll prod them out of him, because I know that he actually can't put them in the presentation, but he can possibly talk about them. So without further ado, I welcome Andy to the stage to say a few words.
Thank you, Ben. So hi guys. So I'm Andy. I actually I built a layer 1 together with like the research arm of Singapore government. It's the agency is called A*, and then I think why we started doing this is because when we first worked together, we wanted to work on the AI project, but for me being in this space for a long time, I was working in AI space since 2005, and then one problem that I always face is when you want to get the model, when you want to get like an expert to train your model, you always need to be able to convince that expert that the model is not going to be copied or stolen, or the model will actually stay with the expert, because basically they are giving away their IP. So it's not easy to solve that problem because no one would trust a developer with their secret sauce or their IPs. So for me, I think we started trading into cryptocurrency in 2016, and then in 2018 we have the idea of using blockchain as a way to secure the models, whereby when the expert actually trains the model, basically in a zero knowledge manner, and then they can subsequently have the keys to secure the same model so that even the developer won't be able to copy those models away. So it was an important problem to solve so that we could get domain experts to come in. So with the that was the problem that between myself and A-Star we were trying to settle. So the first step was actually to develop the blockchain infrastructure, which is essentially now the layer 1 that we have already spent 2 years to build it, and then it gone on mainnet a few months ago in May. It went on mainnet, and then at the moment we are already onboarding some projects, and then we also seeded some of the projects that is building with us, so that there's some activity on the ecosystem. So this is just a bit of my background. So I was working as an engineer and then became a trader. I think the main point is when I was running the trading firm, I actually worked with many highly successful traders, very good traders, and some of them they trade in a systematic way, some of them trade in this discretionary way. So I always wanted, so the discretionary traders always have a problem whereby they make a lot of money and they are highly profitable, but they have problem like they only have like 24 hours a day, and there's only so many trading instruments they can look at. So so I always was thinking like if we could train a bot that would behave or trade like them, alert them to certain signals, or even trade on behalf of them, that would actually be able to accelerate their trading, increase their profits. But but it's not that easy, because the traders will be like, hey, once I train your bot, and then you can say bye bye to me, So that was a thing. But the best way I feel to get their support is to have an infrastructure that is basically trustless. That they don't have to trust me. They just need to trust the technology will secure the model for them. So I always feel that like AI and blockchain together could actually help to secure a lot of the models, and also to be useful in how we secure our data and financial system. It's our layer 1 is basically modular, and then for obvious reasons, because being AI focused, we will need to build out like compute layer, data storage layer, execution layer, consensus layer. So these are some of the things that is happening on our layer ecosystem. Like we have the Guardian layer, which is the deepening infrastructure, whereby we are now starting to decentralize the monitoring of the health of the chain to our community. So we did I think we just started it. We did a node sale before token 2049, which is like 3 weeks before. I think we sold 1,000 nodes to the community just to start the ball rolling, and then we have like stable holder. Sorry, not stable holder. Sorry, we use stable coin as our gas fee. One main reason was because we actually working with different institutions and even governments, and a lot of them said that at the early stage that they prefer something stable, more like because they were actually trying to implement solution with other layer 1s that one problem they had was they were not able to put the tokens into their balance sheet because the tokens are too volatile, and then the CFO find it difficult to address that. So we did that one. We have a decentralized ID project, which actually this project is quite interesting. Is we are working, the first POC we are working with the Singapore air control system, which is a Singapore airport. So to solve a regional problem, basically to enable Southeast Asian airports to share data among each other, where the problem comes because the Southeast Asia airports, they wanted to share data for a long time, but no one would want to open their database to each other. But what we are doing is that we use like DID as well as some privacy protocol, so that only data that's needed can be shared with the people of the right access. And then so now we are running that with the Singapore airport, and then if it works out well, maybe we'll move it to more regional. And yeah, we have Alentia, which is a community platform. Game Hero is quite interesting. So when we first started the layer 1, we didn't GameFi was something we look at, but it was not something that we think will be a big deal. But over time, right, because firstly because one of our goals is to implement AI, and to put AI into mission critical implementation will be, I think that will be too challenging, because I think no one will trust the AI to for example, prescribe medicine, or to do something that's mission critical. So games was good, because games, I think, is a good use case, a good test bed for some of the AI that is coming on the chain. Because in the game, if the AI does fail, then basically we can just reset it, and then no one's going to get a big fuss out of it. So we did Game Hero, which we partner with, I think, some of the industry leaders. So we have I think very strong partners who wants to bring in millions of users actually onto this game store, because they are already in the games industry for like many years, and then I think going to Web3 is a natural step. Yeah. Yeah. So DeFi is actually one thing that we are looking very. Oh, sorry, I actually missed one thing. So there's one I think very meaningful project that we're doing. It's the on-chain AI investigator. So at the moment, we are also working together with a Korean security firm, Uppsala. This Korean security firm, they are actually consultants to the Interpol, as well as Korean police and some other police, and then they specialize in investigating hacks issue. So wherever any hacks happen, they will be the one to go in and investigate the hack, and sometimes the police actually also get their help as well. So one thing that they recognize is that every time for them to generate the initial investigation report, so that the victim can file a report or do certain action, it could take a few days or even a couple of weeks to generate a report, and that actually slows down the whole process. By training the AI, they can generate the same report in a few minutes, or even at worst a few hours. So that actually speeds up the investigation process, and then it helps in helping to freeze the assets. So because before any assets can be freezed, they need the report. So when that report is presented, police can, or the victims or whoever is involved, they can freeze the assets in a faster way. So I think the problem we're trying to solve is actually to reduce the risk of online hacks, and as well as once we are able to work together and present this tech, which we are already implementing now, we actually have some insurance firm that indicated interest to provide on-chain insurance on HeLa chain. So it's very interesting for us, because I think that provide a safer place for people to take part in DeFi or to take part in on-chain activities, because if you put a certain amount of asset on chain and you're not comfortable with the risk you're taking, you can actually buy an insurance. So yeah. And I speak to many people that is not really in the Web3 space. They are more on the traditional side. They often mention that the risk of hacks and they're not being able to buy insurance has been an issue why they are not going in the big way yet. Yeah. So on this part, I really believe a lot in the growth of DeFi, not just in staking and yield generation, also in non-custodian activity. So I always feel that actually it made a lot of sense if one day all the brokers or even in the traditional space, right, not just in exchange, in the traditional space, all the brokers, they enable non-custodian trading. So you don't really have to move all your assets to the broker, whereby there are certain risks of funds misuse or fraud. You can actually hold the asset on your own wallet or own custody, yet using a smart contract to actually do the settlement process. So this will make things a lot transparent, and then also make sure that it probably doesn't happen in Australia, but in Southeast Asia, in certain countries, it does happen that even the traditional brokers, traditional banks even, they actually misuse the client's funds because they were dipping into the client's deposit. So I think non-custodian trading is important, and then year generation, there's a lot work done there already. Oh yeah, so this is one of the projects that on our chain already that we wanted to highlight, and then it's generating like a 15% APY at the moment. It's outperforming other similar platform. Basically, it's like a stablecoin year staking platform, and then the year generated is generally delta neutral, and then it does 15% APY at the moment. And then for this, right, I think we have a very strong support from AlphaNode being one of the key person that initial guys that they actually took part in the staking. So yeah, thanks to Ben. Yeah, and then so this is one thing. If there are any more interest, feel free you can reach out to me, or you can Google like stable holder. Yeah. Prediction market, yeah, this is one thing that we seeded as well. We seeded this project, and then something that we like actually. So basically it's providing it's like allows people to take part in predicting certain events, so they can actually use it. Basically, it's meant to be something casual. So I think now I think the team running this, I think they test it with running certain events like predicting gold price, predicting Ethereum price. I saw that, and then I think they are trying to put in the US election. I think it should be out this week. So they will predict the result of US election, and then they're trying to put in different predictions. So there are some other ideas that we have for the prediction markets, right? It's not ready yet, but we're trying to also work together with security specialists, smart contract auditors, right? So that we can try to predict the risk of a hack. So if we can try to do that, right, and then maybe there's a way where we can actually help to price the risk of the hash, and then at the same time, for anyone taking part in certain protocol, they can actually take the other side of the basically they can bet that there's a hack, so that they can cover the loss if the hack does happen, or there's a rug pull, etc. So yeah, so pretty much I think I came to the end of my session. So so I think that's all we have. So yeah.
Check, test it. All right. So if anyone has questions, I guess for Andy, but also for Ben, who very strategically introduced so we could get off stage. I was gonna leave you up here for a bit, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put your hand up and we can go through that. Anyone? Yeah, right here. We'll go here and then to the gentleman over there. Ronan, you go.
What kind of programming languages are you using for HeLa chain?
For the chain, right? So we are basically using Rust and Golang for our chain, and then the smart contract is EVM compatible, so it's so developer can use Solidity to build their apps on us. Yeah.
My question is for Ben. You talked a bit about stable coins, but a lot of what I hear is excitement about centralized stable coins, and I've not heard a lot about decentralized stable coins for a while. Any thoughts on that?
Thoughts on decentralized or centralized?
On both, and sort of why is centralized like sort of getting so much excitement and decentralized still seems to be static?
Yeah, look, I think most of the decentralised ones that I can think of are algorithmic, and I think there's still a little bit of trust that's got to be learnt in those decentralised coins. If we start talking CBDCs, that's another kettle of fish to open up, which I'm totally against them. They're probably inevitable, but the thought that Big Brother has the opportunity to oversee every transaction that you do and potentially program a chain that may say that you can only spend 5% at the casino or on betting, or no more than 5% of your wage can be spent on alcohol, or basically restricting your lifestyle. Now, I've been to a couple of sessions where groups are talking about, and high-level groups are talking about these CBDCs and not wanting those controls. But for groups to be saying that, and then when it comes to the 11th hour, will it be in there? I kind of I lean towards the side that they're probably going to have those controls in there. As far as I think there's been a big evolution of stable coins over the last 2 to 3 years, and I think centralised stable coins are getting more airplay because they've now got proof of reserves, and they're having to attest to the assets that actually underpin the issuance a lot more. But I agree. I use DAI, for example, which is I think it's changed now with Arve's flip over the last. I think it happened while we we're at Token. Actually, I was probably drunk at the time, knowing me. But look, that has got to play a bigger part. I believe. I think people just don't understand them properly. Yeah.
Any other questions? I'll run the microphone. If we can speak loudly into the mic because we're doing a recording.
Hey Ben, how many meme coins do you own?
Personally?
Yeah.
Only a couple at the moment, but I'm looking at changing that post. But that's personal. We actually had an investment committee meeting about 6 months ago, and we considered putting them in our long-only portfolio. And I think we'll probably look to allocate a little bit because we have up to 2.5% of sort of the higher risk tokens. I think they've got a run in this cycle. They've already had a run. But if you allocate 2.5% to something, what's the worst case? It goes to zero. What's the best case based on those statistics? It could form 10, 15% of your portfolio pretty quickly. And I think that's probably a good lesson to think about cryptocurrency in general when you're allocating your portfolio. Like, people look too far down the curve, and I think you should always have, a strong place in the top performing assets. Like, they are risky enough as it is compared to most, tech stocks and most assets globally. So having that smart allocation piece and limiting your sizing, I think, is always important.
Okay, we've got another question here.
Yes, thank you very much to speakers for a great presentation. I have a question to Andy. I saw that slide where you mentioned this potential benefit of having AI and blockchain sort of brought together. And I think you started from a use case where blockchain was sort of used to protect intellectual property, protect models. So could you possibly elaborate on that? Like, what do you actually protect? Is it like the weights that the model produced? Is it the algorithms, maybe data? How does it work? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So what we're actually protecting is more towards the weights. So what we imagine, the ecosystem that we're building, right? The algorithms, the learning algorithms is actually, it can be provided by the developers or, wholesale developers. The data is provided by another set of data contributor. And then those weights, right, after training, those weights, I think they are basically the thing that the experts are trying to protect. So the kind of AI that we are focusing on is different from the so-called generalized AI, like just the typical LLM models. like what ChatGPT provides. Basically, like many people talking to the same bot, and then the bot learning through statistics. So the AI that actually we are trying to work on is expert AI. So basically, finding a group of experts or a single expert to train that particular model. So that becomes highly sensitive because the expert is actually kind of giving away everything that he has over here to that model. So we're trying to protect that. Yeah. Yeah.
And timestamps it as well?
Yes, we will. Yes, exactly. We will timestamp that and then lock it. So on that, right? So currently we are actually in deep research on this. So for example, we have looked into we have experiment with using GK as well as TEE to actually provide this secure environment whereby you train that model. So even us as a developer, we don't know what happens within the TEE environment, trusted execution environment. So we don't know what happens inside. And then those models are secure inside and can only be unlocked by the owner. Yeah.
So where blockchain comes into play? So what you are talking about, I understand that, and encryption sort of does the job.
We've got a recording, if you wouldn't mind just saying the question, and then we'll go to another person.
Yeah. So that's a follow-up question. So with this encryption and protection, that's understood. And where exactly the blockchain comes into place when it goes to protection of the weights? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So when it goes to the particular protection of the weights, right? So basically, what we are working on is using a form of like a token. Is actually equates to an NFT. So the owner he will hold that the NFT with certain features. We're adding some smart contract into it, feature into it, and then the NFT, right, will be the only one that can actually get access and also get that model moving. Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually an ownership kind of.
It's an ownership thing. The model will actually be, of course, stored off chain, but the access to the model it's actually based on the blockchain infrastructure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We've got another question here. Oh, that was your question. Okay, Ronan, is this working? I'm not quite sure. Okay, Ronan.
You mentioned with the AI investigator, with that you mentioned about the freezing of assets.
Yeah.
What way does that work? Do all the tokens have to have a freeze key or a admin key?
So the freezing of the assets happens when we can actually freeze the wallet that the asset is resting on. So if the asset goes to a particular wallet, on the chain there is a community, so they can go for a voting. So based on the vote, they can freeze that wallet.
So it's true, like a consensus mechanism that would agree to freeze that wallet account, is it?
Yes, that's right. So essentially, it's disabling the ability of that wallet, right, to interact with any smart contract. So the funds will not be able to leave the wallet from then on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, actually, right next to you first. Sorry, this gentleman did.
Okay, front, and then we'll go to the back of the room.
Thanks. Sorry, I just wanted my question is on Ben.
Yes.
Yeah, Ben. I'm pretty new to the Bitcoin, so I'm trying to figure out what's the difference between meme coins and NFT. So I'm not familiar with those things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it really comes down to the underlying technology of each of the assets. So each asset sits on its own, particularly sits on its own chain. So Bitcoin is on the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum sits on the Ethereum blockchain, Solana has its own blockchain as well. Then what you often have is assets that sit on those layer one blockchains. So they're known as layer ones. So you might have Ethereum, and Ethereum has a whole heap of different EIPs or improvement protocols that they've put in place, and they allow you to do different things and create different assets on a chain. And so some of those are tokens, so sub-tokens, which can be moved on the Ethereum blockchain, for example, and some of those act more, and they're fungible, and some are more non-fungible, i.e. you can't break it, it's not divisible. So it's like this microphone is not divisible, right? So therefore it gets moved as the microphone, whereas an Ethereum or Bitcoin, they're fungible, and you can break them down into millions of parts and transfer a millionth part. So the NFTs themselves are non-fungible. So that's why it's representing something in its whole entirety. Okay. And so that might, we were talking before about university degrees, that might be particular, and it can get transferred to somebody to recognise that they've got that degree. It could come in a whole heap of different ranges. So some good sources to look at that. I would say a great website which has got a lot of free content on it is Messari, Messari. Okay. Messari has some really good deep level descriptions, and you can also go high level as well on them. So I'd jump on that website, and also YouTubing as well. It's got a bit of information.
Okay, thanks. Okay, one last question. Yeah. Okay, so with investments, like, does Bitcoin like appreciate in value every year or every 6 months? Like, is it like property? Because property, it appreciates yearly.
Yep.
So with like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that, do they appreciate in time?
So Bitcoin, as all cryptocurrencies, exist on liquid markets. So that means there's buy and sell demand all the time. So you can get a price snapshot at any point in time, right? And whether they appreciate or not, I showed you the chart of what's happened this year. A lot of the cryptocurrencies I listed up there have depreciated this year, and quite significantly, even though there's been a lot that have actually appreciated. So what we're seeing at the moment is really interesting, is that we're seeing a decoupling that's going on in the market. And if you go back probably 5-7 years, whenever Bitcoin would move, the whole market would move. And you still see some of that to some degree, but if you look at the underlying trends now, you're seeing a decoupling, and some themes are dropping off. So we're seeing Layer 2 hasn't performed as well this year. I don't think gaming's performed as well, but the meme coins have performed very well. And coins on Solana have performed okay, right? So what that means is everything's not moving at the same time for the same reasons. So I think as markets mature, you'll see more and more of that as well, like you see in traditional worlds.
I was just going to say, brother, at the front, if you come to these events long enough, you're going to get a lot of good information about this. We also have the Crypto Curious podcast that Bamboo put together. I think that's a great space to get information about the general lay of the land, what's happening in the market, and some more in-depth information about specific cryptos as well. Jacek, you?
I have short question to Andy, if you can. I have accent, but we all have. I'm referring to the freezing the assets, because I don't like it. You said you can freeze. I don't know if it is working.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You said you can freeze the wallet. I agree, because MetaMask was freeze 2 years ago, but there's so many wallets, it's not possible to freeze all the wallets. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think the freezing is in the backdoor in the programmable money, because they are program coded with the backdoor. So the big brother or whatever can freeze even one token. And this is the way like Tether got the backdoor. Yeah. I have heard when I was studying and researching. So I think this is the problem, because if you connect this with social scoring, so you totally can freeze each dollar or whatever in each place, wherever wallet is sitting. So am I correct or not?
Yes. So just so I understand your question, so you're asking, the issue is you're worried that like any wallet can be freezed by.
I don't think you can freeze all the wallets, because thousands of them.
So for the wallets on our chain, we can do that, because the way that the chain is built, we are able to.
So now I understand you're talking about your wallet, your chain,
on
your
chain.
Money. I was thinking you're talking general.
Okay.
So
if it happens on our chain,
now I understand 100%. Appreciate.
The HeLa Labs ones. Okay, another question over here.
Just quickly on that, is there a revoke function on that freezing, just in case you get it wrong or the consensus gets it wrong?
Yes, this is a great question. It's a question that we debate internally a lot about as well. So there is a book function on the freezing, and then in general we will need that investigation report as well as a police report before even the book can happen. Yeah. So in terms of the structure, it will. I guess it won't be too unlike how certain like USDT. They have also examples whereby they freeze assets that is related to terrorism or money laundering. So but I don't think they have a vote function. So for us, we have basically a voting function by a community of nodes of validators that they were. So we can only freeze it if the majority of the nodes pass it through.
Yeah. There's no revert. That's it.
There is currently the way that it's designed, you can still unfreeze it. Yeah.
Both freeze and unfreeze. Okay, good. Anyone at the back of the room interested in posing a question? I just wanted to ask a question about, for example, to you, Ben, like your primary clientele are wholesale investors. Is that something that's historically been established, or is that kind of like your kind of modern go-to-market, and where you consider there's not enough provision of services, basically?
Yeah, so yes, it is traditionally our market. We established in 2017 and our first funds were in the market in 2018. Back then, and we actually looked at a retail-focused fund back then. We were quoted $500,000 a year for insurance only, and our minimum assets under management needed to be in excess of 100 mil off the bat to justify that. Now, you've got ETFs coming along now. There's 2 ETFs in the Australian marketplace. Both have small AUMs and both will be paying significant insurance premiums, and I can guarantee you both products are probably running at a significant loss right now. We're running in the wholesale space because you don't need insurance. It's not specified by the regulations to be insured. And what that allows us, and I said this very early on, it comes back to a risk proposition for us. We understand the technology, we understand where the risks lie, and we mitigate against those to the best of our ability to manage our business. Now, we're always going to have those sorts of risks in play. They were talking very recently about putting up the criteria for what's classified as a wholesale investor. Currently, it's $250,000 a year earnings for the last 2 years, or 2.5 million of assets. They were looking at taking that up to 450,000 a year for the last 2 years and 4.5 million. They've recently shelved that idea, I think because they got so much backlash. And reality is, I'm a firm believer that investors should be able to choose their investment. But there's a whole heap of, some people have made a lot of money and they don't know what they're doing. Let's face it, they've come lucky at some point, and we come across those people from time to time. But reality is, even those who are retail clients particularly are very well educated. They want to know what's going on with their money, even if they're dealing with lesser sums, right? And I think the evolution of the market is quite interesting, because brokers and financial planners have been approached by customers, investors, and say, hey, you're dealing with my stock investments and you're managing a financial plan for me. I want to invest in cryptocurrency. And because they've got a retail license, they can't get insurance and their dealer group will not allow them to touch it. They're actually turning around and saying to that, you go off and they're going off and doing it themselves. So they're learning themselves, they're investing themselves, and we've seen what the scam numbers are like in Australia and globally around cryptocurrencies. Shocking. It's huge, and it's because the regulations haven't kept up with what the activities of what everyday people want to do, and as a result it's opening them up to risk.
I think Kathy Wood said it most poignantly from ARK Invest. She said that her most sophisticated investors are retail, because they, like you say, they've got no other choice but to kind of like absorb themselves and do their own due diligence into the market. So I thought that was really rather lovely. Yeah, great. I think we're going to be winding up the Q&A soon. So does anyone else have a burning question that they just need to get off their chest? You will have an opportunity to speak with our guests, speakers during the networking that will flow very soon. It's not the end of the night. Oh, I see we've got one. Okay, final question over here. Alrighty.
It's probably for Ben again, I'm sorry. Your view on governance tokens over the next bull run?
I actually don't have a view. So probably not going to go down. I think they're valuable in an ecosystem. I haven't done enough research on them to have a view that I'd be willing to share publicly. Sorry.
Wonderful. Well, we'll conclude there the formal Q&A session. Thank you very much, everyone, for your vigorous questioning of our guests. Thank you to Dr. Andy Ting. Thank you to Ben Ritchie.
All right, folks. Thank you. We'll just turn that one off. Yeah, I'll grab it. Okay, cool. First of all, ridiculously good questions. Seriously, like, I didn't even need to go to any of the prepared stuff that I had. I am going to sit now because, I don't know, I run around a lot. I'm getting old, knees aren't great. Please forgive me. Okay, anyway, hopefully the camera's okay there. So what I'm going to go to... Oh, still on? Good. There's a lot of great questions. There's a lot of really, interesting things that are going on in the space. And I think we've got tools in front of us that can actually help out. I love seeing that with Andy that they're looking at how does blockchain help AI. By way of background, apart from running community stuff like this, I actually work in the space, building in the blockchain space, building in the AI space. Was originally building products, and those two products have now turned into actual companies, which is great. Familiar face, I'm on both of those, so that's, it's company, but it's out there. Thank you. But interestingly, it's really great coming from blockchain and then going into AI. And I'm not talking about just following cycles and, okay, let's make the next one person billion-dollar company kind of thing. But what I'm talking about is security. And to what Andy was doing here, basically, we see a lot of value as well in terms of what blockchain can do for AI, and it's not spoken about enough. And thank you very much for sharing that, because I think that there's a lot of value there. Something that we're doing, so imagine this, I believe that the world is going to move to a place where large language models, generative AI, or just AI as the mainstream calls it, even though there's so much more with AI, we're going to move to a world where it doesn't matter if people are using AI. I don't care about my GP, my financial advisor, my lawyer using AI because it's an efficiency tool. I just care that a human has actually read it. A human has actually approved the outputs. Something that we're doing, and I can't really show you exactly how it works here, but what we're doing is if people are actually doing something in the AI space and they're a GP, to prove that they have actually signed off on something before it goes out there. Normally you could just sign something in the app, but how do you know they haven't tampered with it? This is where blockchain comes in, whether it's a private blockchain or a public one. But the important thing is that we have a zero knowledge proof sitting on top of that, so that we have selective disclosure. So that if I need to prove to Andy that I was a GP and he's the auditor, and that I signed off on something before it went to the patient, then I can just selectively disclose only the necessary things. For Andy, he may just need a true or false statement. For someone internal audit, maybe they see everything. We can selectively disclose. That's a powerful thing we can bring to the AI space because we've come from blockchain. So we're doing that sort of thing with a digital ID that we're working on with a Middle Eastern government. And it's about student credentials. So that's a project we'll kick off soon. And apart from that, another powerful thing that comes from the blockchain space around payments, we've got these things that we can do that you just can't do as cheaply in the traditional world, which is escrows. Escrows, you need bankers, lawyers, accountants to actually do stuff. It's why a lot of traditional tradies, construction, don't touch escrows, because it's too expensive. It's a $10,000 job. Why would I need an escrow for? And then you see a lot of these things collapse. People don't know if the other side has money, and yet with blockchain we can do that. How that relates into AI, we can have new forms of transaction. Like, we can't have the microtransactions in digital world that we have without blockchain. So I think that there's a lot of power here. People are wondering, where are we going with this space? Yeah, we'll have the means, we've got the culture, it's really interesting there, but we're going to have real world stuff actually happening that is far more powerful. And another thing is that if you're not allowed to sell a wholesale asset security to a retail investor, guess what? You can do that today But with crypto, with blockchain, with smart contracts, you can have something where it's just not allowed. So we can have enforcement within the token, and we can show how we're a better space than the traditional, the traditional industry that's trying to like regulate, over-regulate us or whatever. We've got better tech, we just have to show how we use it. Speaking of education, I just thought that it's interesting with AI that we've got something here, and actually Andy's QR code, so please do scan that if you're interested in some of the projects that he's got. Get your phones out. I was joking about it being mandatory before, but I can be disappointed if you don't scan it, so, I'm joking. This will be replayed. I'll get it out on YouTube as soon as I can so you can watch, and I'll put up the slides with permission from the authors and stuff as well. And we will get to networking pretty soon, but I just wanted to show you something on the other side of things, which is about AI, right? So I run an AI startup called Sike. This is the thing that has the zero knowledge proof token in there. We're doing some projects in the healthcare space, legal, and in finance as well. We're building a market intelligence product, which I can't show you yet, but it's going to be pretty cool. If you like rabbit holing into various topics, you're going to like what we're going to come out with. And as part of that, we're going to do stuff that helps this association, and in terms of the people, the projects, the community, connect a whole lot more than we ever have before. And we'll be connecting to other community groups as well, because we do not exist in a vacuum. So imagine that there's a way that you can communicate to your friends who know the tech space really well but know nothing about blockchain. AI is the greatest translator that we've created apart from other humans. And so something that I'll show you, I've got slides here, but rather than just like flicking through the slides, let me just actually show you. I'll just do this one first, and then I'll jump straight into a quick demo, and then we'll go to some more networking and whatnot. But one of the things that people don't realize that you can really do, and it's a trick that, not even really a trick, but something that I do always, even when it's like complex topics, I'll take a PDF, I'll take legislation, I'll take a pitch deck from someone. And this is one of the first questions I always ask. Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. Like in this case, explain DeFi like I'm 5 years old. Why? Because the AI is forced to now explain it simply. When you're a founder, and I do this all the time, I overcomplicate things. So DeFi 2.0, imagine you've got a big box of toys that you can share with your friends, and DeFi 2.0 is a new and improved way of sharing these toys. In the first version, your friends had to follow some rules, but sometimes it's a bit tricky. Not everyone got a turn. DeFi 2.0 makes it easier and fairer for everyone to share and play with their toys. Now, whether that's right or not, I don't know. But let's ask something here. So hopefully you can see that on screen. This is Sike. Hello, Sike. Hello, people. It doesn't talk yet, but it will. But I can do something here. So I'm just turning on online mode. So I've got online mode there, looking online. Can you explain ZKP, zero knowledge proofs? Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. So let's do that. And hopefully the demo gods work, because you got to love a good demo where it does or doesn't work. All right, so imagine you've got a secret, like a hidden treasure map. You want to prove to your friend without having to show the map. Zero knowledge proofs are like a magical way to do this, to let your friend know that you know where the treasure is without actually showing them on the map. The one that I use is when you go to a club, and right now, anyone here still get carded? Does anyone still get carded going to clubs? A few of you? Show your ID. I wish I did. But right now you have to, you show your ID, the bouncer can see everything that's on there. That's the world that we live in. But imagine where you don't even need to show it. It just is scanned, true or false, no information passes across. That's effectively the analogy that I've used with zero knowledge proofs. But here's another way to do it. So imagine this with, say, the Bitcoin white paper or other things. And you can tell that this is true because, well, true, it's actually getting its sources from the internet in this case. You can click on these and, one here's from KuCoin, another one from Chainlink. Something else that we can do, so I've copied these before because I knew I was going to go one-handed. So let's go, what else can you tell me? And let's just dive a little bit further and stuff. And then I'll show you some other cool stuff that you can do. I've got here's some that I prepared earlier, type examples, but what else can you tell me? So here it takes it further, and this is what I mean, you can rabbit hole into these things. So you can go into and learn, especially if you're new to the space and you hear something that's interesting, or you read something, or you watch something and people are talking about it, you can use AI to actually be this guide for you. It's great that we've got like Messari, like I love Messari, they've got great analytics and stuff, but there's some really cool stuff that you can do when you could build your own kind of journey. Sophie?
What I wanted to say is I really like how you've got acknowledgement
Has anyone here heard, a great point, has anyone here heard of perplexity.ai and uses Perplexity? It's, we use a similar search model to what Perplexity has, right? Where basically, so if you're talking to a document or you're talking to what's gathered from the web, this thing, instead of just going to the AI brain to give you an answer and potentially hallucinating, what it does first is it goes to that document or it goes to those websites and goes, based on the query that Mark asked, find me websites. In this case, we've got another one where you can have your documents in there. And I'll show you before I go to something else on projects. But I've got here a whole bunch, for example, of crypto outlook reports from, there's Masari, you know, so I can go ask questions about these reports and get answers and know that, okay, it's from these reports here. And not only that, just like, and other tools do, this is not our special sauce, but it's just the basic stuff that you have to have. There's the answer, but then here's a chunk of text where it comes from. Here's another chunk of text where the answers come from. Some of these are big chunks, some of them are smaller, but you can prove that the answers actually have come from there. And right now I'm manually checking, but you can get AI to do the checking for you and produce a report. Take that with a grain of salt. But what I wanted to do was, apart from just going rabbit holing into and explaining topics and using, Sike is one, we're doing some other things there. There's going to be the market intelligence kind of piece that we'll make available to people, and all of the transcripts from these events we'll make available in here so you can explore more topics from Andy and, you know, do a search on some of the stuff that he had up on screen, for example, or mentioned from the transcripts. But one of the other things that I think is interesting, and just giving you the layout that we've got here, and I'll explain what Breathe token is, very token 2049 for anyone that went. The layout that I've got here is done in these building blocks, and we did it this way because one of the things that we found frustrating is when you've got a long conversational block of text and you have to go back up the chain and make a change, you start a brand new branch, you lose all those conversations, you have to bring them across. So we did these building blocks as a way to combat that. But I've just made up this idea of a product called Breathe token, so you breathe to earn. Anyone into that? Yeah, breathe to earn. It's like, you know, you got to work out and stuff like that. So here's an executive summary, product description, conclusion, etc. Here's some market analysis, just quick stuff that they've done. It might just be some quick notes. It could be more in-depth, but broken down into different sections, market strategy. They've got a bit of a roadmap. They've got a revenue model. They reckon they're going to make a good bit of money there, 1.5 net profit, not bad. Really, but we'll see. So something that you can do there, now that it's all in that, what I'm thinking is that you can do something and be your own harshest critic, right? So provide a critique of my project here, be as harsh as you can. So with those building blocks, and I'll show you something else on there, I mean, it's saying lack of differentiation, overly ambitious, vague objectives, monetization strategy. I mean, if it was my mum or dad, I'd feel like this is exactly what I grew up on, you know, you're just the disappointment mark and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm joking. I love my mum and dad, shout outs. But, you know, interesting that you can critique yourself before you go to the market, before you go to others, like get the AI, which has this great knowledge base to critique itself. But you can also do it the other way around. You can say, provide me with some details of, you know, I've fixed things up, imagining that you have, and go provide me with some details of some partnerships that I could look at. Things that or you could even put in there better. I'm thinking of these partnerships. What else could I think of? That what else is really powerful with AI? So they're saying fitness brands, gaming companies, HeLa Labs maybe, so event organizers, etc. like us. So interesting things that you can do there. Another thing, just let's pick one more example. Here's something. My friend has an AI startup. They want to see how they can help. And I haven't changed anything in these, but I can, like you see with, what do you call it? ChatGPT has something called Canvas. And with Canvas now, you can actually edit. Here's the answer. You don't have to just reproduce a brand new answer. You can edit. So I'm really glad that they followed along with us and, you know, can edit on screen and stuff as well. So it's nice that ChatGPT and OpenAI are trying to eat up all the nice AI startups like us trying to help out. But here I've asked that question about how can AI be brought into my project, my friends talking about what they do. The more information you give this, the better it is. And what I haven't shown you on here is that you might have another couple of different like building blocks for your ideas and projects, and you may just go, well, I only actually want to talk to like a few of these. I want to move some of these things around. Let's just delete that one. And sorry, new computer, new mouse, so I'm just getting used to it. But I can just choose with the building blocks which are the things that I want there. So imagine that you've got like this base of knowledge and you can do further stuff with it. This was for this imaginary breathe token type starter, but it could be for a new idea that you've got. It could be for the education that you're after. Like for example, like one of the building blocks could be, you could literally build out like a little bit of education. So I could say here, I've not put anything up there, but I could just say, tell me all, pick a topic, anyone pick a topic in the blockchain space that they want to know about. Shout it out. Real world assets. Okay, there we go. RWA, can I spell it the Aussie way? Yes, I can. Tokenization with an S. Tell me about, huh? Yeah. All right. So hopefully if this works. Again, demo gods. I might not have done this right, but what would come up there for you to fill in the building block would be the RWA tokenization thing. Just imagine it does. There's supposed to be a second screen that pops up. Our devs are definitely doing something in the background, but with all those different building blocks, you could build out your educational kind of course and then do something with it. Perplexity is a great tool. Definitely check that out. Check out ChatGPT's Canvas tool. Now that they've lifted the bar, we'll be doing something greater than that. And it's this endless kind of echo chamber of like going back and forth. But going back to the start and like what Andy and crew were doing, blockchain really helps out here. So I'll just show you a sneak peek of it. So let's just say I'm in my crypto outlooks report, and let's go to a question that have I asked it here? Okay. So let me talk to a document that might be here. So I've got a few things from A16Z. I'll go give me a summary. And if things don't work, we say blame Arturo. 1, 2, oh, we didn't get to say it. Arturo's lucky today. But look, what happens here? So imagine in this situation, for whatever reason, I need to stamp that I have seen this output, I've used it. What's happening here is we've got a micro signature. This is a zero knowledge proof. So we're recording this to a private blockchain. It's ZKP'd so that if I needed to extract information out of that, who the user was, what was the output, what was the query, what were some other factors relating to that session that I was in, if I needed to prove that, it's on a blockchain and I can showcase only certain things that I need. This is the powerful thing that we can do, what you guys are doing over there with HeLa Labs, what we're trying to do as well, what the world needs to realize about blockchain tech and why we get so excited about the infinite possibilities. I'll leave it there. I'm happy to talk more about it later on, but just know that there'll be more news about this kind of stuff that we'll be sharing with the community. Apart from that, I guess what we've got here is it's back to networking. I'll bring back that slide which has the, and I'll share these slides as well, as long as the other speakers are okay with it. So that's Sike there, and then Aus DeFi links as well, but happy to share it. I'll bring that back up. There you go. Like I said, with Aus DeFi, there's a whole heap of things that we want to do. I'm really inspired by the great questions that everyone had up here, so thank you so much for all of that. We're going to get back to, I'm going to try to do more stuff in the Discord. So on, this is Sike, if I go to this next one, this is back to Aus DeFi. If you scan that, there is a Discord link. I saw someone had joined, so thank you, mystery guest. But really keen to get back on there. And if you've got questions, start throwing them in there. Now, majority of the time you do get me speaking. Sometimes it is my AI, but it's been trained to speak like me, so it's okay. But very keen to get that conversation going and learn with you guys, because I learned a lot from today. Thank you to Sophie for, again, shout out to Sophie. Tracy's not here, but normally we would have Tracy and Sophie running these things. So if this is your first time, please do come back for the next one. We're still planning on when that's going to be. Ronan, where's Ronan? Ronan, right at the back there. You would not be able to hear me if it wasn't for Ronan, so thanks for bringing the equipment. And then thanks to Ben and Andy. Andy from flying, I think, the furthest. Has anyone come here further than Singapore? You win. Okay, lucky door prize, see me after class. Yeah. And Ben, thank you so much for sponsoring this event. We couldn't have done it without you. And yeah, everyone, thank you so much for coming. And please go ahead and network. But before that, Sophie's just got a final piece to say.
Yes, I just really want to reiterate that the new process that we have for joining these events, and I hope we request that you come and join through Luma, because we do have sponsors and there is a financial kind of outlay. It's good for the catering and also for the setup of the room ahead of time to be done, well. So yeah, please come and join us through Luma. It's always wonderful to have the numbers as close as we can get, but you know what? You're always welcome to bring a +1 to these events if you decide to. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the networking and what's left of our refreshments.